He's managed Derby County, Hull City, who he led to the Premier League for the first time in their then 104-year history. Preston North End, Southend United twice, winning the League Two playoffs in his first spell, plus Swindon Town and Barrow. Is there a better guest to have on this week's official EFL podcast with such a broad range of football matters to discuss than Phil Brown? We are of a similar era, Philip. I'm assuming you, like me, have now got the spreadsheet out, the World Cup wall chart. You're starting to look, and suddenly that dawning realization that from Tuesday of next week onwards, you can sit down and watch a 10 o'clock, or 1 o'clock, or 4 o'clock, and I can't remember, is it an 8 o'clock, the evening kickoff time? But what a football fiesta, feast, whatever word you want to use, looming. Are you excited?
I did Clem, I did fighting talk on Saturday, and I got asked a question, how am I, hot or cold with regards to the World Cup? And at the moment I'm cold. I know I'm going to get boiling hot. I know exactly how it's going to go. Yes, your spreadsheet's out and you flip, everything's just building up nicely, and the squad's named, and then I was at St George's last week when the squad was named, and there was an excitement about there. The whole thing is pointing towards a great game against Wales, and qualifiers will count upon it. They'll rely upon all the things that you expect before the World Cup will guarantee happen. I hope it goes well. I hope it goes smoothly. I mean, there's been a lot of politics regarding negativity and this and the other. But once the first ball's kicked, everybody forgets about the politics and just gets on with the game of football, or at least I hope they do. And I think we've got a chance. And I always go into a competition as an Englishman, a proud Englishman. Ever since this 66 World Cup, we always go into it thinking we're going to win it. And nothing's changed. I'm expecting something to change over the course of the last 40, 50 years, and it hasn't. Every time we go to a competition. But I have to say it, I think Gareth has been an outstanding candidate to get the England job after Sam, which was a disaster for the poor man. And he knows full well what happened, and the rest's history, as it were. But Gareth's been an outstanding candidate, and he's grabbed a hold of it. But more importantly, the guys I'm talking to in the media, it's handling them is the biggest part of the job, without a shadow of a doubt. And if I can go to a story, when I was at St George's, I was doing I got an invitation by the League Managers Association to come and watch a session with Gareth Southgate and Steve Holland. I couldn't refuse. That's how much I'm into the England setup. I couldn't refuse it. So I go to, pack your bags and get yourself off to St George's and go to see this full day of Gareth Southgate and Steve Holland. Gareth's stuck in traffic coming down from Middlesbrough, and he cannot get to the gig for 9:30 start. So consequently, Steve Holland, he just has to take over because, that's the assistant manager's role, as it were. That's the first team coach's kid, the manager's stuck, take over. My word, he took over with an aplomb, Clem, that I've not seen. He put on a session in the indoor arena, and it was outstanding. The way he got his points of view across, and the great guys that he's worked with, Ancelotti at Chelsea and people like that. He was sort of gathering, you could tell from the session he had gathered all this information from these great coaches, great managers, and he was putting a show on for everybody. And eventually, if the session finished and we go into the hall, and Gareth arrives. And Gareth said, well, that worked well, didn't it? He said, you can now see who He said, you can now see who coaches England, and I manage England. Now, managing England is managing you guys, managing the media, managing the expectancy levels of the effect we have in England on our national team. And I think he's done a brilliant job at it. Probably just in the last 6 months has been his biggest test, because some of the results haven't gone his way, as it were. But, semi-final, then a final. He's one step away from winning a final. And I think there's no reason why we can't, apart from the fact that the Welsh are in the way. And you look at the Welsh squad and you look at the English squad and you go, well, that's a Premier League squad. That's a Championship squad. It matters not. It doesn't care. It doesn't. When Wales play England, If the winner goes on to win the group or this, that, and the other, which is quite possible, if the winner goes on to win the group and then has a great final 16 stage, then Wales are in our way. We've got to bring our A game to the table. We've got to make sure that Premier League squad that he's pulled together is good enough to win the World Cup again.